welcome to Between Friends, a weekly conversation between embroidery friends. I'm Eileen Roche, co-founder of Dime and a longtime machine embroiderer. Thank you for joining me today. Here we are on Monday, a little different day for us. We have an exciting guest, Deanna Springer, Vice President of Marketing at Nancy Zieman Productions. But before I bring Deanna in, let's take a look at today's title, How to Catapult a Career in the Sewing Industry. You'll notice some key terms in this promo: grit, determination, guidance, collaboration, and practice. If you like to read, maybe you have read the best-selling book of Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. And if you have, then you're familiar with the 10,000 hour rule. Gladwell states it takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to achieve world-class mastery in a field. But he left out portions of Florida State University professor Anders Ericsson's research on expertise, which Gladwell cited in Outliers. Ericsson says that 10,000 hours is oversimplification because, number one, it's just a number, and it focuses on quantity, not quality. Mechanical repetition does not improve ability unless that execution is adjusted over time. Quality arrives when you have a teacher or mentor. Hence the reason I've invited Deanna Springer to be my guest today. So let's welcome Deanna.
Hello, Eileen. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here live from the Nancy Zieman Sewing Studio and Quilt Shop in downtown Beaver Dam, Wisconsin.
Oh, I love where you're standing. I mean, and you're right in the heart of Beaver Dam, a new location for Nancy Zieman's vibe, shall we say, right? She was on the other side.
Brand new location, right.
Yeah.
We're right downtown on Front Street at the crosswalk. So if you find the crosswalk, we're right there at the crosswalk. And we've been here since 2021. We opened, Nancy's husband, Richard Zieman, purchased the building in July 2021, and we opened the store in September 2021. So it'll be 4 years this fall.
That's wonderful. A great anniversary. But you have an image, a photograph of Nancy.
I do.
Tell us a little
and
bit
Jacqueline,
about that.
Jacqueline from our team is on camera today. So come on in, Jacqueline, and let's take a look at our founder, Nancy Zieman. As many of you may have tuned in and watched Sewing with Nancy for over 40 years on public television, Eileen was Nancy's guest many a times, teaching Nancy to machine embroider. That's Eileen. I'm not sure if you know, but you taught Nancy how to machine embroider. We had dabbled with it. The machine embroidery home machines were just coming into the homes. And then when we met you in 1999, boy, you took us to places we never knew machine embroidery could go. But Nancy Zieman is our founder, as I said, host of Sewing with Nancy. It's been on public television for over 40 years. And we lost our dear friend Nancy in November 2017 from 2 major cancers. So you and I miss her dearly. And when we talk, we always talk about our friend. She's who brought us together.
Absolutely. She is who brought us together. And she really helped launch my career. I was already the editor of Designs in Machine Embroidery when I met Nancy in '99. And she was just beginning to design for Amazing Designs. So, but she was just learning, right? And sketching designs and so forth, and didn't have the experience of hooping and stabilizer and all that. And, you know, I was pretty green too, but together we really, we educated America on how to machine embroider, and it was fun. And there was nothing like learning from Nancy. And I learned so much from Nancy. I said in my opening how the 10,000 hours is so important, right? Well, I most certainly got my 10,000 hours in my own studio. But then meeting Nancy taught me many other things, you know, that beyond the hoop, right, right, Deanna?
I love that, beyond the hoop, absolutely.
Yeah.
Your friendship was very important to her.
Yeah. So before we kind of we have some beautiful old things to, you know, share from the past and so forth. But let's take a look first off today at your beautiful site, your new store. So go ahead.
Let's take a look at the brand new. This is our brand new, as I said, Nancy Zieman Sewing Studio and Quilt Shop. We are standing in the Bernina sewing machine area. As Jacqueline pans out, you'll see a larger selection of it. I'm standing in front of the brand new Bernina 990. My
Wow.
new love. This is the new love of my life. This is the only machine in the marketplace that can embroider. It can machine quilt a 12-inch quilt block. So this is my new bestie right here. And we are actually the Bernina Rookie Dealer of the Year. We're a brand new dealer, and we're thrilled to be part of Bernina. And as we go this way, Jacqueline, you'll see our shop and shop wall full of sewing machine sergers. We carry everything and every embroidery module and option for embroidering in Bernina. As we walk this way, we head directly from the machine area into the machine embroidery land. So come on over, Jacqueline. We'll look at the OESD. We're an OESD premier dealer. Everything OESD carries, stabilizer designs, accessories, blanks, we have it. And as Jacqueline walks that way, everything thread, anything you need for machine embroidery, including all of what Eileen has invented over the year. And we'll stop here, Jacqueline. It's June here in Wisconsin. It's Wisconsin shop hop season. So we're hopping. We're hopping to different shops throughout Wisconsin. And we have some shop hoppers here today. Welcome in. And we'll walk this way and we'll look at the shop hop.
Tell us about those blocks, Deanna. Are they depicting Beaver Lake?
Go back here. Yeah. Are they? Yeah. Beaver Lake, Beaver Dam. It very well could be Beaver Dam Lake. I always look when I buy fabrics to make sure there are no mountains in the back. Midwest people don't see mountains in our hometown. We have to travel to see mountains.
That's right.
It very well could be. These are scenes of Wisconsin throughout the year. So summer is our favorite season. If you ever visit us in Wisconsin, Nancy's favorite time of the year was the end of June. Goosebumps. Absolutely. Right now. It's the most green and the most beautiful it is. As you may know, we have winter here 6 months out of the year, it seems.
Yeah, but Nancy liked winter too. She did.
Oh, yes. Nancy liked winter, and she always said, if I ever retire and move, I'm not moving south. I'm moving north to my homestead in northern Wisconsin.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's come on over and look at the shop hop fabrics, Jacqueline.
Okay.
So each year a collection is selected. And here we have Nancy's favorite seam, winter.
Yep. Oh, lovely.
And then
the ice houses.
This is the panel. You asked Eileen about the little mini quilts. This is the featured panel this year.
Oh, I love that.
And it's one panel, and I heard the shops are running out, but we love panels here at the Nancy Zieman Sewing Studio and Quilt Shop. So we bought 3 bolts of panels. So we still have plenty of panels on staff.
Oh.
But we just put this on our Bernina long arm, our Q24 and Q-matic, and we quilted the entire panel in one fell swoop. And then we cut it into 4 mini quilts and bound it and put a rod pocket on.
Oh, I love
that. Put your rod pocket on. And then we also made this tote bag too. So each shop is making different projects from the fabric, and you have a passport, and you go to all the different Wisconsin shops. And here it is here. It's the 14th annual Wisconsin Shop Hop. And we finally, Jacqueline, right? We have a shop full of fabrics. So we can be on the shop hop this year. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, when does the shop hop end?
It's June 1st through June 30th, the best time to be in Wisconsin.
So there's still time.
Oh yeah, we're just underway. You still have all the rest of the month to come and see us and pick up your passport and get a stamp. Awesome. And you also get a recipe card from Nancy's quick bread recipe, which I'm sure, you have baked many a times.
Yes, definitely. Oh, that's wonderful. So personable.
It is. We figured what else can we do for a little gift but give you Nancy's favorite recipe. A quick, easy go-to for quick bread with many different versatile options. We are known for our patriotic fabrics. So we try to look for every unique patriotic fabric there is in the marketplace. And this is one of the brand new ones. I really like this print and this print here.
Beautiful.
My sister Denise, the embroidery part of Stitch It Sisters, is also our buyer. So she's always buying. Are you working, Denise, or are you buying for the store? And we also have an online e-commerce shop. We ship nationwide every day. 50% of our business is at shopnzp.com. We try to put almost everything up online. That's what Jacqueline's working on today, getting new fabrics up online. And speaking of fabrics, when Jacqueline twirls around, we have a lot of brights and a lot of novelties. And their panels are hanging on the end cap right there are for our Arts and Peony Festival. It just wrapped up yesterday. So we're thrilled to be the Wisconsin capital, the peony capital of Wisconsin, and the National Peony Conference was here this weekend. So hopefully maybe will be the peony capital of the United States.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then as Jacqueline pans, these are Tilda fabrics. We love Tilda chambray, Tilda solids, and Tilda prints. And these are designed by a Norwegian fabric designer, Tuna Finninger, who I was able to meet at Quilt Market. I went in search of a traditional line of fabric. We're in the Tilda Nook now to stay out of the traffic.
Yeah.
And I found it.
Sure.
So this is our traditional line. I'll step through, Jacqueline.
It's lovely.
But it's also it's traditional yet modern.
It is, right. And yet it's kind of old world. I mean, I could envision this in lots of different styles of homes. So it's versatile for sure.
And many different colors to Tilda. And also buttons and ribbons and pre-cuts. And this is all on our website as well, shopnzp.com. And free patterns. We love Tilda because all of the patterns you see are free printables.
Nice.
Just head over to shopnzp.com and you can click and download hundreds of quilt patterns and project patterns and pillows.
Wow.
As we head this way, we have a double cutting counter where we cut all your fabric. We skipped the stuffies right across, right next to embroidery land. Machine embroidery is like a quarter of our store, thanks to Denise. These are embroiderable stuffies. You zip open a zipper.
Great. Yeah.
And yes, you know,
a pouch comes out of their kind of belly, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you embroider them, customize them, and they make wonderful gifts. So those have been really popular. And the Christmas stocking too, you zip that open flat and you can embroider a Christmas stocking.
Very nice.
More patriotic fabrics, a beautiful peony arrangement. They just last forever. I do put it in the cooler overnight, and I think that helps extend the life.
Yes, they're beautiful.
Just in the fridge.
Full and so many different shades of pink.
So many different varieties. My grandmother had heirloom peony that was lacy, very lacy, and we tried to move it after she passed away, and we sold her home, but it didn't survive. But
it didn't survive.
No, but Grandma's memory sure did. Her other flowers we moved survived. We are cherry wood hand-dyed fabric premier dealer. We carry everything cherry wood, hand-dyed.
That looks like candy. Absolutely looks like candy.
Yes, and these make great fabrics for machine embroidery. We have some over next to Bob Ross, Jacqueline, that Denise used cherry wood's fabrics to do with some machine embroidery. So that's the exquisite work you can do with machine embroidery. It's mixing piecing and embroidery. You probably recognize the design.
I do. They're beautiful though. And I recognize Bob Ross there.
Yeah, that's my Bob Ross quilt. Cherrywood hosts a challenge each year. So that's my Bob Ross quilt. They did a Bob Ross Cherrywood challenge one year. And I mean, they're small, doable quilts. The challenge is to use these fabric and create a quilt in the theme. And I'm like, Bob Ross, Nancy Zieman, public television. I have to do the Bob Ross challenge.
Practically brother and sister. But I also heard you're going to have the Cherrywood competition at the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show this fall, right?
Poppy will be there. So these are the poppy threads, poppy fabrics and threads.
Yes.
So this contest is done, and there'll be hundreds of poppy quilts on display at the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show, which Sewing with Nancy we co-produced with PBS Wisconsin and also the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show. It's our 20th year, so we're entering our 21st year.
Wow! Yeah, isn't that wonderful? I remember when it started. It was such.
You were there.
I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Every
year I want to go. Every year I want to go, and there's always a conflict. But maybe that won't happen any longer.
Yeah. Well, here's an official invitation, Eileen, for you to join us at the 2026 Great Wisconsin Quilt Show.
There you go.
The weekend after Labor Day every September in Madison. Right.
Thank you. Yeah, I love
You're
Madison.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Great.
So head on over to our brand new classroom, Jacqueline. This is our long arm machine embroidery classroom.
Wow.
So when we first opened, this was our standard classroom. We outfit our classroom with machines. So we opened with 16, I think, Jacqueline, we could fit in here 16 Burnett sewing machines we started with. We quickly outgrew this classroom a year and a half ago. We added a building 2 doors down.
Oh my goodness
to
gracious.
house our classroom and event space, which we can go to another time. But we can
Yeah.
show you our new addition last month.
Mhm.
As we head back out, here's our corridor of holiday fabrics. Jacqueline and I just met this morning. How can we expand this? We have more holiday fabrics coming in, so we're going to order more 3-tiered bookshelves, and that'll cover it, right, Jacqueline? Pre-cuts are right behind Jacqueline, and then we're known for our panels.
Yeah.
And then let's head into, hi, welcome in.
Hi.
We're heading over into our new space. My husband Dennis, my Stitch It Mister, cut a hole, and we busted into the next building a month ago. We just had
I
grand
think we're in
opening
the large,
in May.
the apron patterns.
And this
there
is
on the
our
wall.
Patchabilities applique room.
Okay.
So much inspiration for every season and every reason. And there's
Yeah.
also machine embroidery. You can do old fashioned applique, or you can choose automatically on your phone.
Yeah.
So kind of a transition space into our brand new garment sewing boutique.
Wow.
So this is where you'll find all of our fabrics that are polar fleece, flannel, felt, knits, ponte knits, jersey knits, crepe knits, yarn dye. We have everything you need for doing garment sewing and home deck. So it came with a chandelier, so I had to name it the boutique.
Yes, I love that. Well, and I mean, how appropriate to have a, garment sewing boutique, because Nancy designed patterns for McCall's, and boy,
We'll head back.
That was
head
really
back into the main store where the Wi-Fi is stronger.
Yeah. Are you going to move to another location because
Eileen.
it's a little choppy here?
Yes, we're moving back to the main location where the Wi-Fi is stronger. But in the very first season of Sewing with Nancy in 1983, Nancy did a mixture of sewing, which back then we did tailoring, but she also did quilting. So we were doing quilting in the first season of Sewing with Nancy. So it's always been quite versatile.
Yeah.
She always did a mix, as you know, Eileen, a little bit of machine embroidery, a little bit of serging, a little bit of sewing, home deck, and quilting. Every season encompassed all of it. Because if you have a sewing machine, you're a sewer.
Right.
And whatever you want to sew, we can teach you how to do that.
Yes.
We'll head to the color wall. Jacqueline will take a look at the color wall.
Yeah. Okay.
We have all kinds of different fabrics, and the color wall is perfect for machine embroidery too. She'll pop around this way. I took a shortcut. And we have Quilt As You Go here, and she'll pop around the other side of Quilt As You Go, and we'll do a little chatting.
Okay. I love it.
That's a quick little tour of the store. Upstairs is the Nancy Zieman History exhibit with showcases with Nancy's original 4-H garments, all of her sewing machines that she used on Sewing with Nancy, including her Bernina 830 that she bought in college in 1975.
How about that? How about that? She really taught America how to sew.
She did. She did.
Yeah.
And I know when you came for the Sewing with Nancy 30th anniversary show, we talked, and then you talked on air about it. What Nancy was interested in at the time, she was recording Sewing with Nancy. She was raising children, she was sewing for children. Yeah. And as she moved into a new home, she was sewing curtains and home deck. And I love that conversation that you and Nancy had, that you were aligned with her. You were watching and sewing right along, raising your kids and starting your home.
Right, exactly. She was a couple years ahead of me, but our children are about the same age, and we each have sons named Ted. They're not the same age, but we had an awful lot in common before we even met. And but learning from Nancy was an absolute gift. And I was trying to make some notes about what were the most impressive things that I learned from her. And I would say number one is that to partner with people, like her husband, her and Rich really started Nancy's Notions together, right?
Right.
And then,
Nancy started it alone on her kitchen table, and as it grew big enough, Richard naturally became part of the company, and they were, the income was high enough that he could quit his job and join the company. And with the help of Richard's parents, Earl and Elaine, I mean, it takes a village, it takes a family to do it all.
It does for sure. And I started in the machine embroidery business on my own, teaching to Janome users. And then I had the pleasure of meeting my business partner, Gary Gardner, who, we were able to really make this into the company that it is today. But along that way, Nancy taught me that that also collaborating with others was also key to success. That's what she did with me. And it's what she did with Natalie Sewell, right? The landscape artist,
right.
Mary Malari. I mean, there were so many names that people she would have on as a guest on her show. She was amazing.
Right. Every season there were new guests. And the sewing and quilting world, it's large, but it's small. We all travel to the same trade shows and consumer shows and get to know each other. And I mean, it's like when you go off to college and you're with people that love the same thing and want to do the same thing.
Right. And yet it's risky, to collaborate with others. I mean, because you're putting your own reputation on the line, you're sharing your audience, you're sharing your know-how, and you're hoping that they are doing the same and that they will deliver, right?
Right, exactly. As you know, as being a guest on Sewing with Nancy, you brought a lot of to the table. You made your own step-by-steps. You had several phone conferences before video calls with Nancy to plan the show, to talk about it. And she talked with people, future guests, in person, on the phone. And I mean, she admired their work and she appreciate what they brought to the table. So I'm pretty sure almost every collaboration was a good one. She followed her gut. She had strong faith. And I one of the biggest things I learned from Nancy is to let go. Don't sweat the small stuff. Take risks. Take calculated risks. If it feels right and the Lord was leading her, she did it.
That's right. And what one mantra that sticks in my mind is it needs to be a win-win. It can't be one-sided. Both sides really have to win. And she was careful in that, I think.
Right. You hear a lot of people say, what's in it for me? She was thinking, what's in it collaboratively? What's in it for Eileen? What's in it for me? How can we work together to grow sewing and quilting, to reach a larger audience, to spread the good word of the, making sewing, quilting, machine embroidery fun.
Right, for sure. But you, like I said earlier, she expected you to deliver. And I mean, you really had to, right? Because there would be phone conversations and there would be email and there were even faxes, before email was so prevalent. And, with small sketches and just kind of concepts that were being, flushed out. And then and I'm just going to speak for me as a guest, I was expected to arrive in Beaver Dam Monday afternoon. And then, I always said I arrived like a piñata. I would open my suitcases and everything would come out, samples all over. And then she had the ability to look at all those step outs and to identify the clear path to present it to the viewer so that they could have an easy understanding of the process. Because even though I made all those step outs, we always, for television, prior to how we are now, you really had to do more than was necessary. Not everything would make it on camera because
and duplicates. We needed backups.
We had what, 23 minutes?
26 minutes and 46 seconds. And she could time it. She would talk about writing a script. It was an outline. Don't think it was a word by word script. It was an outline. She called it a script. She wrote every single script until the very last program, I Sew for Fun. And she handed over the reins to me and asked me to write that script. So
that's
the only script she ever has written besides.
I have some of her outlines. This is from our neckline makeovers in 2015 and 16. And some of this is my notes, and so we would kind of flesh this out Tuesday morning and it would change. It would definitely change. And
become better.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And here's her big script, this intro. That was it, 2 paragraphs. And, that's what she would say. She did read a teleprompter just for that segment. That was it. Just those
The
Two
intro
paragraphs.
and the closing, intro and closing. And we would
Yeah.
shoot those first thing Thursday morning at the studios at PBS Wisconsin in Madison, downtown
Yeah.
Madison at the University of Wisconsin campus.
Right.
So we were nice and fresh. You'd arrive with your own makeup on, and
Yeah.
makeup artist Vicky would do a little bit of enhancing to your hair and makeup.
Absolutely.
And then it was go. It was
Yeah.
live record. Rarely
Right.
did we retake things. It takes a lot of effort, as you know, video production.
Absolutely.
You birth it once. It's twice the work to try to do it again as a second take. But
Yes.
it was live to tape. Very little editing, thanks to you and Nancy and all the talent that you brought to the table. And oh my gosh, the amazing A team. Nancy would call them the A team at PBS Wisconsin. It was a dream team. Those 4 decades were amazing.
I know. And she would write, you know, this is going to be at the round table. This is going to be at the table. That's kind of I'm going to call it the cutting table, even though we didn't.
Slanty board, we called it.
Yeah. And then the sewing machine. And she would have the times there. And then just these couple bullet points. And we had to know that, okay, it's going to take 3.5 minutes. And this is what we have to cover. And we have to fill that 3.5 minutes.
Right. So and then floor director Greg would be 5, 4. You got to wrap it up in 3 seconds. So she could do timing. I still am not great at timing. So with my YouTube series, the Stitch It Sisters, I don't have to worry about 26 minutes and 46 seconds, but she could nail the timing. She was amazing at nailing the timing.
She sure was. And then, then we co-wrote this book that had all the step outs in it, right? For these different bags. And so I have one of those bags here. And, you know, it was, so this is the embroidery design. This was the embroidery design. This is well worn. Let me flip it over to the other side.
Oh.
The corners on the bottom are embroidery designs. And then she came up with the sleeve pocket that you could slide over your luggage handle on your suitcase. And oh my goodness, that was just brilliant. And that was in 2012. So it was pretty revolutionary. And then, you know, I'd get home and within a week, there would be a thank you note, a handwritten thank you note, you know, with the date telling her. And in this one, she says, thank you for being on Sewing with Nancy guests, and you've taught my viewers and me so much about embroideries. I can honestly say that this last series is my favorite in 2012. And I did get several more my favorite because we got better as time went on, right?
Right. And the last show was recorded in 2017. So you were on each season, and
I sure was.
It truly just got better and better. And we talked about you would come in on a Tuesday. Wednesday would be a run-through day at our offices and sewing studio. And that's when you said, Nancy, you would sit down and she would work on the outline. You would go to the sewing room and make a couple of extra stitch samples to make sure that we could tell the story step by step on camera. I brought a couple of the books over that we sell in the store and online. That you did both of these on television as well. So many good memories every time I look at any of it. You know, and you can watch Sewing with Nancy online at nancyzieman.com, and also on YouTube, Sewing with Nancy, and on public television. We are still on public television for over 40 plus years.
You know, I donate to Wisconsin Public Television, so I get the monthly calendar, you know, and so I always look, what's Nancy going to be teaching? And because I do that,
Eileen.
I have a pass so that I can watch all of Wisconsin PBS.
Passport,
in Texas, which I love that. The world is so small today. Okay,
that's
so
how we watch too, through the Passport app, and then you can stream it anywhere.
Absolutely.
So it's become a sustaining member of public television. There is no better outreach than the good people are doing at public television and public radio. It's good, clean, clear content, and supports so much about education and teaching the next generation.
It really does.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not that much, believe me. But I just want to call out my sister, Marie Zeno, has piped in. She just has a comment here. Yeah, I remember that tote bag well. So my sister, Marie Zeno, my stitching sister, is going to be here on Between Friends on July 10th. So I hope that you mark that on your calendars. We're going to do a whole show together, like a Stitch and Sister reunion. And but Marie was a guest on Sewing with Nancy. And so was her daughter. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
I
So,
remember shows well. I was at that point. Nancy's health was a struggle, so then I began traveling to the studios with her and helping those days. Those were fun days with Marie.
yeah.
I remember embroidering slippers and towels and
Yes.
all different things on Marie's program. And then her daughter brought rope sewing back, so
Yes.
we were stitching bowls and totes and bags
Yes.
with cotton cording.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And I think Lindsay was Nancy's last guest that wasn't a family member.
Mm. That
We
could
have to
be.
look that up.
Sure.
I think so,
Sure.
though. Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's see.
You could be very
Suzanne
well.
Siderman says,
Hi,
Nancy Zieman,
Suzanne.
sewing studio is my favorite shop. It's like family
Hmm.
there. No
We,
surprise.
yeah, we love you, Suzanne, and all of
Oh,
our wonderful customers and
yeah.
friends. We
And
couldn't be here without you.
Cindy Klauser says she has Nancy Zieman's signature machine. I know that.
Excellent. She had a couple, just two signature machines that came printed from the factory, and then we're pet friendly here too. And then Nancy would autograph sewing machines.
Yes.
The machine that she used on the Sewing with Nancy television show at the
Yeah.
time. So at some events, and
Right.
even someone told me last week that their sewing cabinet is autographed by Nancy. So yeah,
Oh,
Nancy signed a lot of autographs throughout the years.
yeah.
Many, anywhere in airports,
Right.
wherever
Oh,
we'd go, she'd be asked for an autograph. And then as cell phones, digital cameras and cell phones, then it
yes.
became photos. Could you take a photo with me?
Right.
So. Mhm,
Everywhere you went. Once Nancy
mhm.
was here in Dallas with me for a little bit of work, but we had a girls' afternoon and we went to this kind of swanky mall here in North Dallas. And we were in this store, Anthropology. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but it was fairly new then. And these two adorable young women working in the store, you know, Nancy and I were checking out, and they said, oh, Nancy, oh, I know you. My mother watches you. And I think Nancy and I were like, oh, is that good or bad?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
multi
But
generations. I watched you growing up.
yeah,
Oh.
they were delighted to
Thank
meet her.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So here, let's just
yeah.
take a look. I have some other
Mhm.
things to share, some fun
Okay,
things from back in
okay.
the day. Here's some of when she was a designer for Amazing Designs. They used to
Mhm,
send
mhm,
out these postcards. She did the Four Seasons landscape
mhm.
collection.
That was an early one. Mhm,
Yes. And then this was coastal, remember?
mhm, mhm.
And then a
That was
lace.
one of my favorites with the shells and the beach theme.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, a holiday. And, you
Mhm,
know, so it was during this era that I met Nancy. And that's really because my business partner, Gary Gardner, was the creator behind the Amazing Designs brand. It's kind of complicated, but he was.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
that's who put us together. And then on the 5th anniversary of Designs and Machine Embroidery, I had about a dozen hardbound copies of the magazine printed for my contributing writers, the women. They were all women who contributed to the magazine on a regular basis. And by then, Nancy was a columnist, and we had a celebratory dinner in Puyallup, Washington at Sew Expo, and it was really fun. And I gave everyone a couple gifts and along with this hardbound. Here's Nancy on an ad for Madeira, I guess, thread. But wasn't that fun? And then, of course, you know, I get home. I don't think the wheels are down on the airplane. And here she has this beautiful handwritten note about thank you for inviting me to the anniversary dinner. And it's such a milestone. And she goes, you know how to make an event very special. Love, Nancy. I mean, these things, I can't toss these things away. They mean
You
so much to
can,
me. They're just
right,
lovely, right?
right. Things to keep in your cedar chest. And she
Yeah,
hand wrote every one of those thank you notes.
she did. I,
She
I
wrote
would
so.
imagine, yeah, that Beaver Dam post office misses
Mhm.
her, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
They would, yeah, yeah. They sure knew
And,
who we were. All the UPS drivers
oh,
know who we were.
yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a big family. And when you
Mm,
would come and visit Beaver Dam, it's always a family reunion.
yeah. And,
Hmm.
you know, she was on, we put her on the cover for her 30th anniversary of Sewing with Nancy, which was really
Hmm.
spectacular. And
That's the
things,
only.
gorgeous.
Yeah, that's the only photo you'll see. Is that the one with Nancy blowing her candles out? Yes,
Yes.
Jacqueline's saying yes. Yeah, that's you gave Nancy a hard copy of that, and that is in the history exhibit upstairs in the
Oh,
very first showcase. It was
oh,
very, very, very special to her. So she
yeah,
could. We had a lot of fun times. And speaking of your sister Marie, we did
yeah.
we did a machine embroidery event in Grapevine, Texas, and it was,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Texas, so it was a cowboy theme. So
Right.
that's those
Texas Showdown.
publicity. Texas Showdown, thank you. Those are the only pictures you'll ever see of Nancy wearing a cowboy hat. Jacqueline's going, oh, I'll have to
I
pull those photos out and get one in the showcase. It was a
right.
fun time. And Nancy's high school son at the time, Tom, her youngest, flew out and helped us work the event too. And I remember that he had asked you, Eileen, could you take me to buy some cowboy boots? And you did.
Yeah, it was so fun. It really
Hmm.
was. And
Yeah.
the gentleman that I was dating at the time, who's my husband now, Peter Katsopius, he was Nancy's, we're going to say cameraman, right? But it wasn't really live cameras. He was whatever he was handling. But he had to bring an electrical extension cord from home for her. And today, that brown cord he still calls the Nancy cord.
Oh my goodness. I've not heard that story before. Oh, hello, Pete.
I know.
Oh,
He's
Pete's
so
such a great
sweet.
guy.
He
Yeah,
loves
and
her too.
he's
Yeah.
from Wisconsin, right?
Yes, he is. He's from
Yeah,
Western
Midwestern
Wisconsin,
guy.
Somerset.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've been up quite a bit. It's just on the wrong side of the state.
I know it's the other side of the state.
I
It's
know.
probably 6
I
hours
know.
away at
Yeah.
least. Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
have one other thing that I want to share. Nancy did an awful lot of charitable sewing, right? And of course, but she also did it for people that she really cared for, right? So my
Mhm.
business partner, Gary Gardner's wife, battled ovarian cancer in 2010, and she lost her battle in 2014. But prior to her losing it, Nancy made this, what we thought was a cosmetic bag for Helen Gardner. And Nancy had her signature digitized, which I love that. Is that the coolest thing?
Beautiful.
Isn't
Yes.
that beautiful? And so
Mhm.
she gave this to Helen, and Helen used it, unfortunately, to carry all of her medicines, which was chock full for sure.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
after she passed, Gary gave it to me, and
Mhm.
I keep it in my sewing studio at home, and it has all of the bag making supplies that we need, the clover things that she's designed
Mhm.
over the years to make bag making so easy.
Yes,
And
and she took it further. She took it nationally to bring awareness. And we did that as a blog posting. So nancyzieman.com/blog. Nancy and I started in
yeah,
2012, and we still are going strong with 3 tutorials a week. And
yeah,
she took that tutorial and made it step by step to
mhm.
share the story and share awareness. So,
That's right.
awareness is key. There's been
Mhm.
so many great modern medicine updates in
Right.
my lifetime for sure, and in the last 20 years, and that's what it's all about. So
That's
sewers
true.
and quilters, including Nancy, she tapped into it early with her
Oh,
creative
yeah.
kindness book with Gail Brown.
Yep,
um, did sewers and quilters want to sew and help people.
they
You
do.
want to, when you find out bad news or sad news about somebody or difficult news, you
Mm.
want to do something. What can I do to help? I want to make something. So
Yeah,
that's what that bag was made for. She did a series of books on head coverings for when
yeah.
you're going through treatments and lose your hair. In
Mhm.
2011, there was a tornado in Joplin, Missouri, that affected so many different
Oh,
people.
yes.
So that's the year she said, I have to do something. I can give money, but I have to do
Mhm.
more. So she took her scraps and cut them
Yeah,
into strips and made a bed-sized quilt that was beautiful. She said, I don't want to make an ugly quilt. I want
yeah,
this quilt to be beautiful. And
right.
um, that started Quilt to Give at the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show, which we do each September,
Mhm.
the weekend after Labor Day in Madison. We bring all the fabrics and the machines, and then you sit and sew for 10, 20, 30 minutes and
Yeah.
help make these beautiful community quilts for individuals and people in need.
And you've designated a large space in the convention center where the show is. So once
Hmm.
you come into the show, you are just welcome to walk into that space and sit down and man a machine for a little bit and create, right?
Right, it's open in the atrium, and anything
Mm.
from cutting fabrics to pressing
Yeah.
to stitching. Uh, there are different jobs for everyone to do. And it's, it's so popular that there's sometimes a wait list. So
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for our collective audiences that have followed Nancy and you over all these years and shared their stories. When they're going through tough times, they share with us, and that's how everyone gets through. We need each other. We need
We
people
sure do need each
helping
other.
people.
Yeah. And Nancy's Corner on Sewing with Nancy often ended, or spotlighted a charitable organization that was either collecting machines or, little dresses for Africa. And it went on and on.
Right. And
Yeah.
it went globally.
Yeah.
With Canada, if you lived close to the border of the United States, you could get Sewing with Nancy on public television stations, and you still can, right, Jacqueline? We get calls and emails and letters each week of people watching Sewing with Nancy and telling their stories, how Sewing with Nancy has impacted their life. It's more than a sewing show. It's more than teaching people to sew. And like you said, the last 5 minutes, the first 20 years of Sewing with Nancy, we had a mailbag segment where Nancy would read viewers' letters, and then letters turned into emails, and we did it for a while. And it was Lori Gorman. You know Lori Gorman.
Yes, sure.
She
the
is
executive
Nancy's
producer.
right director of Sewing with
Director,
Nancy, executive director. Nancy was the executive producer, and it was Lori's idea that, hey, Nancy, we need to do something different to mailbags. Been there, done that, and with public television, PBS Wisconsin, that's all about connecting the dots. And the letters and the emails and the phone calls that were most touching were people having hard times and how sewers and quilters can help each other. So Nancy started live interviews and connecting those dots. And it was a challenge for her. It wasn't how to step by step, but she got better at it, and you just stick with it. And if something keeps working, it's, nothing worthwhile comes easy. So she just kept at it. And they're still online at nancyzieman.com and at YouTube and on public television.
And she really had to step out of her comfort zone. I mean, Nancy was shy, right, Deanna?
She was very reserved, very elegant.
Yes.
Very well spoken. She went to the University of Wisconsin, Stout for journalism and for home economics. She had 2 majors. So the woman could write, and her penmanship was beautiful.
It was.
And many of you know that Nancy had an ear infection when she was 13 months old, and it affected the nerve in her face. It damaged the nerve in her face, which caused her face slouching, in her eye as well. So if you watch Sewing with Nancy, you'll never see her blink. It was a chore and a trained method for Nancy to be able to blink her eye. So often her eyes were watering. She had so many health challenges, but she didn't make that anyone else's problem. She always said, what happens to us does not define us unless we let it. So I still live by that.
And the documentary that PBS produced honoring Nancy was titled Extraordinary Grace. And it was aptly named because she was just full of grace. And she was often in a lot of pain on television, right? Many.
And in real life. And at shows, you'd see her on crutches. She had knee problems since high school, and many different health issues.
Right. And yet she always smiled. She persevered through it. And
she always asked about you. How are you?
That's right. How are you?
She didn't talk about herself. She asked, how are you doing? And she would know people's names and knows kids' names and their children's names. And Extraordinary Grace was the perfect title for that film by PBS Wisconsin.
And when you talk about grit, she was gritty. She had grit, which is that everyday drive. I'm going to do this, and nothing's going to stop me. Nothing's going to stop me.
No. Yeah. And she was a renegade too. One of the books that she had was how to dress for success. How a woman should dress for success in the business world, and it was written by a man. And she took it and she paved the way. She changed the way for women business owners. She's an award-winning Wisconsin business owner. The awards are upstairs. There's only a fraction of the awards on the wall. We could fill the entire space upstairs with all the awards she has. But Nancy was always, modest. Deanna, let's be modest. When we
Humble.
invented the 5-in-1 sliding gauge, I'm like, let's call it the 10-in-1 sliding gauge. Now let's be modest. Let's go with 5. I'm like, but it can do so much more. So
I
yeah,
know.
she was fun. And she had her fun and funny side. She was a Sunday school teacher here in Beaver Dam. And when she would get together with you or Mary Malari, she would have fun. Or if you took any of her seminars, people still come in to this day and say,
Oh,
Deanna, I met Nancy once at a seminar, and she's funny. She
yeah.
told jokes.
The
She was
blonde
funny.
jokes. Oh, my
Hmm.
goodness.
Hmm.
We would laugh.
Yes,
And
yes.
she
If you
was,
want to see some of that,
yeah.
just go to YouTube and look for "Kick It Up a Stitch"
Yeah,
with Nancy
okay.
Zieman and Mary
Absolutely.
Malari, and that's like a
Yeah,
Lucy and Ethel comedy.
absolutely.
It
Nancy
was
and I
actually
were, go ahead.
It was actually produced. You're wondering why would Nancy record something like that? It was her unique idea, just like the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show was her unique idea for a
Yeah,
fundraiser for public television. It
right.
was done as a pledge drive. So if you watch public television, there are specials that, there's a break every 30 minutes where we ask for funding. And it
Yeah.
was created for that. So Kick It Up
Mhm.
a Stitch was a creative fundraising
That's awesome.
for public television. And we still, Jacqueline, do we still have the DVDs at shopnzp.com? We do. And in the store.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. Well, Dee says that Nancy was extraordinary, and we most certainly agree. And Joyce Adams says that she's so glad that she tuned in today. Well, we're glad you joined us today, too. Thank you. And Cindy Klauser, you have bad news to share. And, my heart goes out to you. I haven't walked in your shoes, so I don't have the right words, but we will keep you in our prayers and hope that
We're
you
here
are
for you.
comfortable and peaceful and that you're surrounded by family and good medical care. It's tough, right? I do want to share, I have a landscape quilt that Nancy gave me that I think people would love to see. So I'll bring that onto the camera.
Yes, and the last 20 years of Nancy's life, she made over 70 landscape quilts. When her friend Natalie Sewell, a
Yeah.
landscape quilt artist from Madison, Wisconsin, taught Nancy how to make landscape quilts. She said, I will never I will never sew another pair of black slacks again. I'll buy those at JCPenney's.
Yeah.
So she had to make time. She had to move something out of her sewing schedule to make time for a landscape
That's
quilting.
right.
And her very first one is in the museum upstairs called Tiffany Mountains. And here is your quilt.
Right. And this is called If Trees Were Teal. And I'm going to bring it up so you can see the quilting. I mean, Nancy quilted each little stitch, free motion quilting. The stippling is just outstanding. And if you have any of the books that Nancy Zieman and Natalie wrote about their technique, they did fussy cutting, but not so fussy, right? They did rough cutting. Let me bring this up so you can see the shrubs. They didn't go around each little petal or leaf. They kind of took their scissors and did a rough cut. And that's what made it look so natural. She did a little bit more fussy cutting on the leaves, these spare leaves that are still hanging from the limbs. And they layered applique fabric. So we have this batik fabric as the teal tree trunk, and then she's added some other cotton fabrics on top to give depth and shadows and so forth. They were also known for using pens and highlighters and all kinds of markers, right, Deanna?
Yeah, pens and marker and glue stick, oh my. We just recently republished the book with C&T Publishing, The Art of Landscape Quilting by Nancy Zieman and Natalie Sewell. So many people have been asking for this, so we republished it. It's available now in store and on shopnzp.com. We just did. Breaking news.
That's
yes.
wonderful.
So it's the same techniques, and here are the pastel crayons, that you would usually use for in art. Oh, anything that you could grab, even from Office Supply. When they first started doing the landscape quilts and started teaching, they would teach, fussy cut the leaves, messy cut the rest of it, the landscape parts of it. So if you could cut like a kindergartner, you can do the start from the background, nice background, and then work yourself forward, kind of like Art 101. Right. When they told, there were gasps when it was on the television show that you glue stick down the flower.
Right.
Glue? You can't put glue on fabric?
Yeah, I
Want to
know.
bet? She was a renegade. Mhm.
Uh,
That's how you develop new techniques and new methods. Don't
mhm.
sew within the box, sew outside the
Right,
box.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, Gloria Cardoza is my director here today. So, Gloria, would you just pop that quilt back up here? Because let's see, I want to see what some of these folks said. Linda Brooks said that she enlarged the quilt to the largest possible so she could see it. It just is really beautiful. And Dee says he loved all the unique sewing techniques that Nancy would show. We were always learning from Nancy, always learning from Nancy.
Hmm.
And learning to, she was kind of a rule follower for a lot of her life and gave us the structure so that we knew the right way to do things, so that when we wanted to kind of break out of the chains, we knew the foundation, we had the foundation, and then to be creative and explore like she has in her landscape quilts. But of course, this was number 64, and that was in 2015. And it always comes with a card, right? If we're Nancy Zieman, we got and a handwritten card. And she sent it to me in April in 2015. And she said that it was supposed to be for my birthday in July, but she couldn't wait. She said, why wait? Let's do it now. And so just lovely, just lovely. So I love having
Amazing.
that. Mhm.
Cherish it. Not many people have a landscape quilt made for them. So
Oh, I
just your
know.
dear friends and dear family, and
Absolutely.
I'm honored to have one. You have teal trees, and I have the blue birches.
Oh, you do? Oh, that's
Hmm.
lovely. And so
Hmm.
lastly, I kind of want to end on this little patch, which says, "Make Nancy proud." And so I'll tell you the story behind this patch. When we were at Nancy's funeral in Beaver Dam, I was walking out with Mary Malari, Nancy's dear, dear friend of many years. And I know many of you know Mary and all of her work on PBS. And she said, was very upsetting, as you can imagine. And she just kind of said, through tears, make Nancy proud. And so that was our motto going forward as we, endured the loss of this industry leader, our dear friend. And it was, a little difficult to go on. So I made these patches. And after the end of my taping with PBS Wisconsin for the documentary Extraordinary Grace, I gave this patch to Grant Forrester, the producer of Extraordinary Grace. And I said, put this on your computer while you're editing and make her proud, right?
Hmm. Yes,
So
and he
that's,
did. He told
yeah,
me the story. He told me the
yeah,
story,
it's a
and
great
he
comment.
did, and he still has it. And I saw
Yeah.
him a couple months ago, and
Did you?
yeah, Grant
Oh,
Fester is an amazing talented
yeah.
filmmaker, and we were
Oh,
so honored for him to work on Extraordinary Grace.
yeah. Did I
Hmm.
pronounce his name wrong? What's his last name?
Grant Fenster. Hmm.
Fenster. Sorry
I knew
about
his mom first. Cindy Fenster was a quilt teacher at the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show.
that. Is that right?
She's a quilter, a
Yeah.
quilter. Hmm.
Well, he's also
Hmm.
married to a Jersey girl, so we kind of hit it
Hmm.
off. He got where
Right.
I was coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a
Yeah,
wonderful guy, as well as all the team at
yeah.
PBS
Mhm.
Wisconsin. Just, you can't find better people. And Nancy always surrounded herself with good people. So
She
she wouldn't
did.
have stayed at PBS Wisconsin so long if it wasn't a good fit and good people.
Right.
Stay true to your core beliefs, change with the times, and
Mhm.
just
Yeah,
try different things. Just try it. She
right.
always had me give me like many different ideas every day, 100 ideas in one day. I just kept track of them in a
Yeah,
spreadsheet, and the good ones would sort to the top. The other
right.
ones were still at the bottom, and so many times Nancy was way ahead of
Yeah,
usually 2 years ahead of the curve. It's like, why isn't this book selling? This is a great idea. And 2 years later, things take off. So I'm
yeah.
still seeing that now,
Is that
how
right?
what a groundbreaker Nancy
Mhm.
was.
Yeah.
And we need
Mhm.
leaders in the world, and she was one heck of a great leader.
And she was genuine,
Hmm.
I remember some of the stories that the Wisconsin Public Television staff shared, like cameramen and other
Hmm.
assistants who,
Hmm. Hmm.
during the years that they knew her,
Yes.
She would appear bedside in a hospital when
Right.
somebody was in there
When
for care.
Greg was ill, she
Yeah,
showed up. And he got a
right.
landscape quilt too. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah, it
mean,
was
so
their second family.
yeah,
You know
they
all
really
of
were.
the
Mhm.
crew as well, and Nancy would always say you knew it was a good, innovative technique we were showing
Mhm.
because when the segment would be done, or right when we were recording, the camera people would come out from behind the camera and go, "What
Right.
was that?"
What? What was
Yeah.
that?
So
How do you
when
do
Leslie and Cassie would do
that?
that, and the rest
Yeah.
of the team, yeah, that
Oh, they
she
were
knew she had
wonderful.
something great there. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's true because I know at the magazine, we would shoot, bi-monthly, in a professional photography studio, still photography, and when that team of creative people, the photographers and assistants and stylists would say, "Wow," I knew, "Oh, wow, we really hit the mark on this."
Mhm.
So,
Right.
because 'cause they're kind
Yeah.
of on the cutting edge, you know?
Right. And
Yeah.
videographers are honest, truthful people. They'll tell you what they think and see.
Right. Yeah, their reactions are
Mhm.
spontaneous, so, you
Mhm.
kinda
Mhm. Mhm.
well, Deanna, it is so lovely to visit with you today. We haven't done this in so long, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
see you next week.
Yes, I will see
Yeah.
you next week at Bernina University in Salt Lake
Mhm.
City. I look forward to our breakfast, and
Right.
thank you for all the wonderful memories that you
Oh,
created with Nancy and our team. We truly appreciate you, all you've done for
oh,
this category. I mean, it's so big, sewing, quilting, machine embroidery, all
yeah,
that you've done and all the innovations that you've taken machine
yeah.
embroidery to the next level. When we started, we had like one stabilizer,
Yeah,
and now look what we have. We have the right tools for the job, and that
right,
people
right.
like you and Nancy changing the way things, should be done and
Yeah,
making new innovations makes
absolutely.
sewing and quilting better and machine embroidery every day.
Well, and thank you, Deanna, for keeping her legacy alive. I know that Rich Zieman, most certainly, his heart was in the right place to create this whole new store and so forth. But without you and your heart and your knowledge and your Stitch It sisters, and I mean, it's beautiful. So thank you so
It's in our
much.
blood. You know, Eileen, it's in our blood.
It is
This
in our
is
blood,
this is
and
our life.
yeah,
We're so passionate about it.
yeah,
We're just, it's
right,
what we do, and
yeah,
it's a joy, a
yeah.
labor of love.
And I think
Thank
you would
you.
have made Nancy proud.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Deanna, and I'll see you next week. So, what else is going on here at Dime? Let's see. Well, this Thursday, I have Joanne Banco and Reen Wilcoxon joining me on Thursday, the 19th at 1 o'clock. And we're just going to have a whole lot of fun. We're going to give you 3 hooping tips. Each of us will have 3 hot hooping tips that you can enjoy. So I hope that you'll join me for that. Today's program was brought to you by Word Art in Stitches, our spectacular software for embroidered text. And Ashley Jones is going to be presenting this tomorrow on software success. So you're going to learn, you're going to get, the lesson that you would normally get from me today or in between friends. I'm going to ask you to join her tomorrow to get the lesson on Word Art and Stitches. And that special, of course, will still be available. So join Ashley tomorrow and take advantage of this special price. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you here on the 19th with Reen Wilcoxon and Joanne Banco. Thanks again, and a big thank you to Deanna Springer for sharing her afternoon with us and giving us that tour in Beaver Dam. So long.